Years ago, on the outskirts of a small town, there was an old abandoned asylum. Everyone in town knew the stories. They said that the patients were mistreated and their spirits still roamed the halls, seeking revenge. One group of friends decided to explore it, thinking it would be a fun adventure. On a cold, foggy night, they gathered their courage and entered the asylum. The air inside was musty, and their footsteps echoed through the empty halls. The walls were peeling, and the windows were broken, letting in the cold, night air. As they walked, they heard strange noises, whispers, footsteps, and sometimes eerie laughter. They split up to cover more ground, each armed with a flashlight. One by one, they began to experience strange occurrences. Jane, exploring the old operating room, felt a sudden chill and saw a shadow move across the room. Mark, in the dormitory, found a diary with entries that stopped abruptly, the last page smeared with something dark. In the basement, Emma found old patient records. She saw names and dates, but what caught her eye were the notes about experiments. Her flashlight flickered, and she heard a faint crying. She followed the sound, her heart pounding, and found a small, dark cell. Inside, there was a figure huddled in the corner. "Hello," Emma called out, but the figure didn't move. As she stepped closer, her flashlight illuminated the face of a ghostly patient, eyes wide with terror. Emma screamed and ran, but the door slammed shut behind her. Her friends heard her cries and rushed to help, but when they opened the door, Emma was gone. Panic set in as they realized they weren't alone. They regrouped and decided to leave, but the asylum had other plans. Doors slammed shut, locking them in, and the lights went out. In the darkness, they could hear the patients' whispers growing louder. Shadows moved closer and cold hands reached out to touch them. They ran through the halls trying to find an exit, but the asylum was a maze. Finally, they found a window and smashed it open, crawling out one by one. As they stumbled outside, they heard a voice behind them. "Come back," it whispered. "You belong here now." They never spoke about that night again, but each of them was haunted by nightmares of the asylum. Emma was never found, and her friends knew she was still inside, one of the many lost souls trapped in the abandoned asylum.
Tom was driving home late one night, taking a shortcut through a dark, lonely road. The night was foggy, and the trees on either side of the road looked like shadowy figures reaching out. His radio was playing softly, but he felt uneasy, like he was being watched. Suddenly, his headlights illuminated a figure standing by the roadside. It was a young woman, a white dress. Looking lost and frightened, Tom hesitated but decided to help. He pulled over and rolled down the window. "Do you need a ride?" he asked. The woman nodded silently and got into the back seat. Tom noticed she was shivering and offered her his jacket, but she just stared ahead, her eyes distant. He tried to make small talk, but she didn't respond. The silence was heavy, and the atmosphere grew increasingly tense. After a few miles, Tom glanced in the rearview mirror to check on her, but she was gone. He slammed on the brakes and looked around, confused and scared. The door hadn't opened, and there was no sign of her anywhere. His jacket was neatly folded on the seat. Panicking, Tom sped home, trying to shake off the eerie feeling. When he reached his house, he went straight to bed, hoping to forget the strange encounter. But that night, he had a vivid dream. He saw the young woman standing at the end of his bed, her eyes sad and pleading. In the dream, she spoke to him. "I need your help," she said, her voice echoing in his mind. "I can't find peace. My body is hidden near the old bridge." Tom woke up in a cold sweat, her words ringing in his ears. The next day, Tom couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to do something. He drove back to the road where he had picked her up and followed it to the old bridge. He searched the area and Hidden among the bushes, he found a shallow grave. Inside was the skeleton of the young woman, her white dress still clinging to her bones. Tom called the police, and they confirmed it was a young woman who had gone missing years ago. With her body found, her spirit was finally at peace. That night, Tom had another dream. This time, she thanked him, her face peaceful and smiling. Tom never took that shortcut again, but he felt a sense of closure. He knew he had helped a lost soul find peace, and he hoped that she was finally resting in the afterlife. Lily loved collecting antique dolls. She had shelves full of them in her room, each one with a unique story and history. One day, while browsing a flea market, she found a beautiful, old doll with porcelain skin and glassy blue eyes. The seller warned her that the doll was rumored to be haunted, but Lily laughed it off and bought it. When she brought the doll home, strange things started happening. At night, Lily heard whispers and soft giggles, but when she checked, the room was empty. Objects moved on their own, and she often found the doll in different places than where she had left it. One night, Lily woke up to the sound of tiny footsteps. She turned on the light and saw the doll standing at the foot of her bed, its glassy eyes staring right at her. Terrified, she threw the doll into the closet and locked the door, but the disturbances continued. Lily's friends noticed her growing pale and tired. She told them about the doll, but they thought she was imagining things. One friend, Sarah, decided to stay over and see for herself. That night, they both heard the whispers and footsteps. Sarah woke up to see the doll standing on her bedside table, its head tilted as if watching her. They both screamed and ran out of the room, determined to get rid of it. They decided to burn the doll. They took it to the backyard and set it on fire. As the flames consumed the doll, they heard a high-pitched scream, and the air filled with the smell of burning plastic and something rotten. When the fire died down, only ashes remained. Lily thought it was over, but that night she had a nightmare. She saw the doll, whole and pristine, standing in the middle of her room. It whispered in a voice that sounded like a child's, "You can't get rid of me, I'm yours forever." She woke up in a panic and ran to the closet. The door was ajar, and inside, she saw the doll, untouched by fire, sitting on the shelf with its glassy eyes staring back at her. Lily knew then that she could never escape the haunted doll. It would follow her forever, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within its porcelain shell.